Governments are no longer denying it. The military are no longer denying it. And even mainstream media no longer denies it. They're here and have been here for a very long time. The Mutual UFO Network has been on the front lines uncovering the truth since 1969. And now we're sharing the truth with you. Welcome to MUFON's What's Up with hosts Katie Grabowski, Christopher DePerno, and Katie Cook, exclusively on the KGRA Digital Broadcasting Network. Wondering what's up? So are we.
What's up, everybody? Happy Tuesday night to you. So glad you are here. Welcome to the MUFON What's Up radio show. The show that says discovery starts with curiosity and curiosity starts with MUFON. I am Katie Cook. Katie Grabowski has the night off. This show is brought to you by KGRADB.com. Check out all the great content on KGRA. You will not be sorry. We have a fabulous guest for you tonight. Michael Schratt is with us. I'm so excited. We have so much to talk to Michael about. This is going to be absolutely fascinating. He's coming up in just a little while. And this show endorses the MUFON organization, the organization that investigates the biggest question in the universe. Are we alone? I don't think we are. Thankfully, I'm not alone tonight. As always, MUFON State Director of New York, Mr. Christopher DePerno is here. Chris, welcome.
Hello, Katie.
Hello. Oh.
Jerry says hello, too.
Jerry.
Jerry's into soccer now.
Of course he is.
He's got his soccer outfit. Number 4. So when you see him on the field, baby, number 4.
Oh, I love it. You know, I'm just glad to see that Jerry's with us tonight. I had heard some rumors. I was getting a little nervous, but we can probably get into all of that later.
Yeah. Sure. Jenna wants to go al natural, but I'm hoping to try to change that somewhere down the road.
Get a little outfit for her, too.
It would be nice.
Hey, here at the top of the show, I want to remind everybody you can still buy tickets for the 52nd annual MUFON Symposium that's coming up June 7th to 10th. And, we say it all the time, but in addition to all the great speakers, it's really all about who you meet, the conversations that get sparked at these conventions and symposiums. I think just when you're in a large room with other people interested in the topic, experiencers, contactees. I mean, you never know what's going to happen. And I think that kind of connection is important. So I just wanted to throw that reminder out there that you can still get tickets. I mean, it's always a good time, isn't it, Chris?
It is definitely a good time. I love it there. You learn so much. You get so many great speakers. I can't wait to be there in Colorado. And, the two of us will be there, too. So if you want to meet us, we'll be there. You tell us how much we stink. I don't know.
Jerry and Jenna? They're going to be.
What? It all depends if the TSA will take aliens.
Well, that would be really interesting. We'll have to find that out. Speaking of aliens, let's start with our meme of the week to get a little giggle going on here. I love this from Nerdy After 30. For those of you just listening, it says, did you know when you walk into a room and forget why you're there, it could be because you ran into an alien and he had to erase your memory so he could escape. It makes so much sense now. And you know what's funny? I actually can't remember if I've already used that meme on this show.
Yeah. No, you haven't used that meme, and I can tell you that the aliens make me walk into a door. Not only do I forget that I saw them, but I forget to open the door. So damn them aliens. Damn you, Jerry.
Oh, they're tricky. They're tricky. All right, let's talk about our pop of the week. This one is so cute. Check this out. Well, let me get it. I can never get this right with it. Okay. Let's back it up where you can kind of see the face. Oh, Amanda just put the picture up. I can never get this right. How cute is that? And it smells so good. This is chocolate mint flavored. One of my absolute favorite flavors. The chocolate is so yummy. As always, you can order these at paranormalpops.com. And finally, I found the cutest product for young budding ufologists, or just those of us that don't really want to grow up, It's called an air fort. How rad is this? I think I need this in the back, like in my office. How cute is that? And what? Wait,
what?
Chris, you have one and you didn't tell me?
Yeah, that's my workout room.
Oh, okay. Good to know. Yeah, you like shrink to go in there.
I love the legs on him. I'm glad you picked some great legs for me, man. Don't let my wife see that. Holy cow. That's
I want you to
awesome.
appreciate that. You can order these at Scheels.com. That's SCHEELS.com, Scheels.com. Chris, you're nut. All right, what's going on in the world of UFO news?
All right, let's get to the news this week. Let's see, our first story. DARPA funded scientists accidentally discover world's first warp bubble and open the door to travel fast. If that fits. That fits with mathematics of the Albury engine to travel faster than light without violating the theory of relativity of Einstein's special relativity, whatever the thing is. I could never get it. It's an incredible discovery that could take us to other star systems in the distant future. I have a problem getting across the street, but if we can make star systems, God bless you. The theory behind this allows a spacecraft to travel faster than light by curving space, expanding it behind the ship, while contracting it at its bow. Sounds like a ship. I don't know. In this way, the effective distance between 2 points is shortened, and the ship could cover that distance faster than a photon traveling through unwarped space. Sounds like an old Star Trek thing. Anyways, the team was working on a different project for DARPA when they came across the bubble by accident. Now, folks, this was all done by accident. All right? This isn't something they planned. They said, hey, let's try something else. And holy cow, we got a warp bubble. What happens if they start trying something else and they accidentally blow up the world? But that's DARPA. The original project is evaluating the possibility of extracting energy from a phenomenon called a Kashmir cavity. The incident happened during one of the experiments to investigate the Kashmir cavity phenomenon. Casimir. Yeah.
Casimir?
I don't know. It sounds like a cheap sweater. When they identified a structure that matched the warp bubble, Dr. White said that what they have identified is a real warp bubble, modest and tiny. NASA's Advanced Propulsion Research Group, in which White conducted research to solve the gigantic propulsion consumption problems. His work managed to reduce these energy needs, proposing for the first time a possible solution so humanity could travel to other star systems, as it can now only be done in science fiction series such as Star Trek. Hence, the importance of this accidental discovery, which their next step is to investigate this bubble of curvature further by building a nanoscope spacecraft, a 1-micron diameter. I don't know why they're doing this, but this is where your tax dollars are going, folks. 1-micron nano spacecraft. All right. The investigator did not comment further because that investigation would become classified as confidential by the Pentagon. Hey, Amanda, why don't we have a video? Let's show this Kashmir cavity video.
Warp drive was destined to remain imaginary until a scientist suddenly realized that such an engine was really possible at the end of the last century. The physicist was Miguel Alcubierre, and he came up with a theory that rocked the scientific community globally. In 1994, Alcubierre watched an episode of Next Generation while doing his PhD research on Einstein's general theory of relativity, where heavy masses can curve space and time. And so Alcubierre picked up a scrap of paper, did the calculations, and laid the foundation for an article that appeared in the Science magazine later that year. In his paper, Alcubierre describes how you can compress space and time in front of a spacecraft and stretch it back behind the ship so that you have to travel a much smaller distance to the desired destination, safely trapped in what he calls a torsion bubble. In visualization, the concept was compared to a surfer riding a wave, and a metaphor often used to describe how a ship could travel the stars. The need for the foreign matter remained. That was until Eric Lentz, a physicist at the Pacific Northwest National Laboratory in the US, stepped in. That was when he realized that everyone had overlooked something. Lentz decided to try some of the more unusual mathematics and realized he could also solve formulas with it. In the torsion bubble obtained by Lentz, the mass was in the places where the curvature was greatest, but much more importantly, you can make his bubble with ordinary, everyday things. You didn't need an ounce of Stranger Things. Lentz was surprised that no one had tried this before. Although the Lentz engine was already more practical than the Alcubierre engine, you still needed a lot of mass for it. But it is still because you need mass 1,000 times smaller than the Sun. That's still a massive amount of kilos, but it is more manageable. It looked like warp bubbles could be put to rest as a concept that could never happen in real life. However, a completely chance discovery is fueling interest in warp bubbles again and could prove to be a breakthrough. A research project funded by the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, DARPA, and NASA's Johnson Space Center may have accidentally discovered how to build a warp drive engine. Harold Sonny White, a NASA researcher at the Eagle Works Laboratory in Houston, Texas, published a research paper with his team in July about the possible structure of the energy density present in a Casimir cavity. According to the report, the Eagle Works team came across a micro-nanoscale system that predicts negative energy density distribution that closely matches requirements for the Alcubierre metric. In other words, White and his colleagues accidentally created a microscopic experiment while researching how energy distributes around wavelengths, a theory developed by Dutch physicist Hendrik Casimir. The experiment resulted in enough theoretical energy to achieve warp speed.
What do you think, Cookie?
Yeah, this is Star Wars, Star Trek stuff. By the way, the name of my new rock band is Casimir Cavity.
Okay. Hey, can you imagine sitting at the dinner table with these two scientists? The only thing I would say is, so did any of you read Captain Marvel comic book? I mean, when they're going to be talking about, well, we're going to bend space and time, we're going to warp the back like a this and that, and I'll just say, hey, I saw that new chapter of Captain Marvel comics. What do you think?
Well, this is wild stuff. So if I'm understanding this correctly, you've got the ship, you expand like space behind it and contract it. At the bow is the front, right? Sorry.
You're asking me?
Okay, here's what I'm curious about. Like, let's say we could do this. Now, I can't just drive down the road at 1,000 miles an hour. You know, I'm going to get pulled over by the cops. Like, if you're just like, I'm just going to go through space.
Well, they're not going to be able to catch you.
Well, yeah, but no, but if we can warp, then maybe somebody else can warp. Like, did they pull you over and be like, you didn't ask to warp? You know, Betty over here on planet Zunu, you just ruined her baby shower by warping space at the wrong time. Like, how do people just...
I don't know. We'll have to ask if they have an alien police force. And how do you get out of an alien speeding ticket?
These are the things that I think about. All right, moving on. That's a good story.
Oh, yeah. All right. Time traveler assures that it was to the year 1863 and he met Abraham Lincoln. A lawyer has told how, as a child, he was part of a U.S. government time travel program at the height of the Cold War and was sent back in time to Abraham Lincoln's Gettysburg Address. Andrew Basiago is now attempting to expose the top-secret Project Pegasus, which he claims was a Pentagon-backed attempt to manipulate time at the height of the Cold War. Pegasus was commissioned by the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, or DARPA, and some of America's best scientific brains worked on it. He claims massive amounts of taxpayer cash was poured into the Project Pegasus, and Einstein's theory of special relativity, Jesus Christ, I can't get over this, was twisted to create a time machine. However, the government considered it so dangerous it was closed. Basiago claimed that he was selected to help conduct an experiment using wormhole technology. Jerry, I haven't been drinking. And was sent back in time to 1863, just minutes before Abraham Lincoln delivered the historic Gettysburg Address during the American Civil War. He claims his jump took place in the spring of 1972 at a time lab in East Hanover, New Jersey, under the direction of Dr. Sterling Colgate. Dr. Colgate, who died in 2013, the doctor was closely involved in the development of the U.S. hydrogen bomb, and much of his work remained classified to this day. Mr. Basiago added he was serving as the president of the New Mexico School of Science and Technology and had developed a methodology called plasma confinement, where the time traveler stands in a clear, lucid chamber, walks into a cloud of plasma, and is essentially wormholed. I think he's holed, but I'm not sure if it's a wormhole. By this method, he claims, have been flung back in time to 1863. What do you think, Cookie? Well, let's watch this video beforehand. Amanda, roll that video.
Pegasus. Nikola Tesla was a Serbian-American inventor, futurist, and pioneering mechanical engineer, best known for his scientific contributions to the design of the modern electricity supply system. During World War II, the research and development facilities of the U.S. Department of Defense, responsible for developing emerging technologies for use by the military, found Tesla's lost research on teleportation. Upon discovering it, the scientists at DARPA had no choice but to follow up on Tesla's invention, and 3 decades later, the United States had its own secret teleportation facilities. A precursor to the Montauk and Philadelphia experiments, Project Pegasus was the DARPA research initiative to produce the first successful time machine or teleportation device. To keep the machine from the public eye, and because of its inherent resilience, DARPA decided to use children as test subjects on the incredible device. At least that's what Andrew Basiago claims. Basiago is a lawyer, writer, scholar, and self-described 21st century visionary who has claimed that he and other children traveled in time. The travels. Andrew Basiago claims that he was recruited for Pegasus as his father, Raymond F. Basiago, was a projects engineer in the Ralph M. Parsons Corporation, an electronics and engineering company hired to work for Pegasus in the Curtiss Wright Aeronautical Facility in New Jersey. For the trips between the ages of 7 to 12, Basiago Jr. would hold his father's hand, count to 3, and jump through an energy curtain. Afterwards, they would find themselves in a dark tunnel moving forward. They called the tunnel the jump room, and when it closed, the men would reappear in a different location in the blink of an eye. The lawyer claims that he tested 8 different time travel technologies throughout Pegasus, but most instances involved some type of teleporter based on technical papers and designs supposedly found in Nikola Tesla's old apartment after he passed away in 1943. As stated by Basiago, the teleporting machine consisted of, quote, 2 gray elliptical booms about 8 feet tall, separated by about 10 feet, between which a shimmering curtain of what Tesla called radiant energy, a form of energy that Tesla discovered that is latent and pervasive in the universe, and has among its properties the capacity to bend time-space.
Wow. Isn't that interesting? What do you think, Cook?
Yeah, there's that bending time and space again. You know, I always say if time travel's ever going to exist, then it already does. I mean, who knows if this story is true, but can you imagine, let's say it's true and it happened to you and nobody believed you?
Yeah, I know.
That would be my worst
crazy?
nightmare.
Where would you go?
Well, I was going to ask you the same thing, like what time period? I think, okay, so obviously a serious answer would be I'd try to go find all the absolute worst people that humanity has ever produced and like try to get to their parents and be like, don't have a baby, you know. But I mean, the fun answer is like, you know, go back to the 70s in LA, but be an adult and get to see Led Zeppelin and just like travel around the country, seeing all of their shows, invest in Adidas, you know.
That would be really cool. I would like to go back when Apple was being made in a garage and buy all their stock.
Yeah.
Yeah,
yes,
that
seriously.
would be. But I don't want to go any farther back. I want to go back to the time where they invented indoor toilets. I don't like any roughing it. So, I mean, as long as I can go back and they have indoor toilets, I'm okay.
I got
But any farther than that, sorry, I'm not into outhouses.
I probably would go back to ancient Egypt and just be like, don't mind me. I need to see how you build stuff. Yeah, I might be back every day for a few years, you know. I don't know, but
all right.
But what else we got?
Well, let's go to our third story here. UFOs left random burns and unaccounted for pregnancies. New Pentagon report claims. Folks, you can take off the tin hats because the government has said they've been investigating this for years, and you guys have been right. And this is a big deal because it now says that people were right. Let me read the story. 1,500 pages of UFO-related research were just declassified as part of the FOIA request. Encounters with UFOs have reportedly left Americans suffering from radiation burns, brain and nervous system damage, and even unaccounted for pregnancies, according to a massive database in the U.S. government reports recently made public. The database of documents UFO-related material from the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, ATIP, you remember that, folks, a secretive U.S. Department of Defense program. According to the documents, which includes reports on the biological effects of UFO sightings on humans, One standout document from the collection is a report titled Anomalous Acute and Subacute Field Effects on Human and Biological Tissues. The report describes alleged injuries to human observers by anomalous advanced aerospace systems. That, in short version, is UAP or UFOs, some of which may be a threat to the United States' interest, according to the document. The report describes 42 cases from medical files and 300 unpublished cases where humans sustained injuries from alleged encounters with anomalous vehicles, which includes UFOs. In some cases, humans show burn injuries and other conditions related to electromagnetic radiation. The report said some of them appearing to have been inflicted by energy-related propulsion systems. The report also noted cases of brain damage, nerve damage, heart palpitations, and headaches related to anomalous vehicle encounters. I get the same thing when my wife gets mad at me. The report also includes a list of alleged biological effects of UFO sightings on human observers between 1873 and 1994, compiled by the Mutual UFO Network, MUFON, a civilian nonprofit group that studies reported UFO sightings. The reported effects of UFO encounters include unaccounted for pregnancies, apparent abductions, paralysis, experiences of perceived telepathy, teleportation, levitation, the list goes on. The report concludes that there is sufficient evidence to support these events. Amanda, you got to roll the next video.
I want more on the UFO report, unidentified flying objects. These encounters that this report reveals had quite an impact on real people. Radiation burns, paralysis, brain damage, unaccounted for pregnancies. You know, I'm inclined to ask Lauren to start with, do you believe in UFOs?
Oh, wow.
It had to be the question, didn't it?
I'm going to go with no. I'm going to go with no. Ashley?
Yeah, what do you got, Ash?
I tend to believe. I just can't believe we're the only ones out there. And the people who are interviewed, we've all seen those late night documentaries, at least I have, on UFOs in Alaska and what have you. But this report comes from a shadowy Pentagon department that was shut down in 2012. And the ailments listed after these experiences, as you say, the most common experience, by the way, is abduction. Then, I love the picture, then radiation burns, paralysis, brain damage, even sexual encounters. There was also a case cited of a commercial airline pilot who saw what he said was a very bright flying disc, and when he got home, he had a very bright red face, and he had that for 4 days, and they believe it was radiation burn. So how do you explain that? And that video on the screen right now, there's this video of like a tiny Tic Tac that's these Navy fighter jets are pursuing, and they just can't keep up with it. I don't know how you explain that, but this report does say that, you know, these encounters appear to be, to the people at least, very real, and that they believe that there is some sort of other intelligent or advanced system out there, and it's just not clear to us how they operate. In other words, as I said earlier, we are not alone.
But it's the example, it's the experience of the pilots, the commercial airline pilots and the Navy pilots.
Yep.
You know, it's hard to refute that when they've come up with an obvious physical thing on their face. And these are rational people. They see shapes and lights in the sky. It's hard to dismiss that entirely, isn't it?
I don't have a strong opinion on this. I mean, I do believe in these things. I believe in spirits and all of that. That's a whole other discussion. But yeah, there's other things and people out there for sure.
Cookie, what do you think?
Well, I'm pretty blown away by this. I'm glad that this is being unearthed. But we've said how many times on this show, people be careful. I don't think they're here to harm us for the most part. I really don't. But it's powerful technology, and people that get up close very often get pretty hurt. So just have a great deal of respect for the technology.
Right. It's like when you get too close to the zoo, you know, the tigers, and you want to pet one of them. No. Keep your distance. If you see one of these things, I joke a lot on this show in the beginning and stuff, but I will tell you, this is a very serious topic, and it's about time the Pentagon came out, because a lot of abductees have been traumatized, have been, had no place to go. And finally, I think with this report, they're vindicated in a lot of ways because the government is starting to acknowledge that this stuff is real. And I think they want to put it out in drip disclosure. So,
yeah, no, you're right. It's actually a very, very serious topic. But all right. Well, did you catch up with Bob Spearing this week?
I did. And he's got a great case for us. Amanda, would you roll his tape?
Hi, everybody. My name is Bob Spearing. I'm MUFON's Director of Investigations on the international side. And every week, Chris allows me to come on and show you a video of interest that has come into the MUFON case management system. This one is from Manchester, England, or just outside Manchester, case 121539. Let's roll the video. We didn't know what this was at first. It had a V shape to it initially when we were watching it. We thought that it could be a party balloon, a Mylar party balloon in the shape of a V, but as the video progresses, we see that it's not a V shape at all. However, like Mylar or metal, it is a highly reflective object. At this point, it almost looks saucer-like. The problem is that it appears to be tumbling. Now, in the past, people have said they've seen UFOs exhibit a leaf-like falling, but this seems to be tumbling. But when it does, we simply cannot ascertain what its actual shape is. Right now, it almost looks like a V. So it is metallic. It could be a balloon, but I checked the weather, and the wind that day was in the opposite direction that this object was moving, according to the witness. The other thing is that a 3-mile-per-hour wind, while it sounds like it's a low speed, when you're dealing with a balloon, it's actually a very high speed and would push the balloon far away from the camera in less than a minute. This video is over 1 minute and 40 seconds long, and the object seems to stay in one place, which is highly unusual. Now, the witness could be wrong in the direction that he thought he was facing and the direction that he thought the object was traveling. But for right now, we're marking it as anomalous because we're not quite sure what it is. And that's it for this week. I'd like to thank Chris for having me on, and hopefully I'll be back next week with another interesting video for all of you to see. Thank you, Chris.
He just keeps coming up with amazing things, doesn't he, Cookie?
Yeah, that's a really cool one. Again, I would have thought maybe Mylar balloon in the beginning, but then after a while you're looking at it, you're like, yeah, I don't think so. That's a really cool one.
Wow. And stuff. Well, I have to tell you, he keeps coming out with stuff. What's new? What's next?
Well, I said at the beginning of the show that I was a little worried about Jerry.
Yeah.
I'd heard some rumors that he wasn't doing really well. it could be too personal, but
he
maybe
was getting boozy.
Oh,
Carousing, boozing, raising hell. Man, he was going for the vodka.
Oh, the vodka.
The vodka? I say it with that New York accent.
Yeah, the vodka. So what happened? I mean, does he need help?
Well, I actually sent him to the Rocky Rehab.
Oh.
And we got him in shape. And as you can see, he's a little trimmer, fitter, ready to go. Amanda, let's roll Jerry's Rocky Rehab. Jerry, I've had enough of this drinking and carousing. You're going into rehab, and you're getting yourself back in shape starting right now. Down the hatch, Jerry. Bottoms up. Push! Push! Push those arms, Jerry! strong. Get strong, Jerry. Get strong. One more. One more. Punch it, Jerry! Punch it!
You're gonna kill him.
Lift, Jerry! Lift! Over your head! Run, Jerry! Run! You gotta run! Pick it up, Jerry! Pick it up! So, do you want a drink?
Yes, go Jerry!
Jerry says he'll never take another drink again after the Rocky rehab. He says he's clean. He's ready to rock and roll. He's into Sector now.
We're so proud of you. And the way you say vodka reminds me of something I've got to share with you. So
yes,
my daughter had an art assignment in kindergarten. She was asked to draw a scene from home. Any scene from home. This is what she came up with. Yeah. For those of you just listening, it's a few bottles. One says wine, the other says root beer. But then there's a big one that says vodka. It's spelled V-O-C-A. But the killer is next to it. There's a mini vodka. So, yeah, I'll just go ahead and accept my Mother of the Year award right now. Classic. Classic. Well, I'm glad that Jerry, I don't know if he enjoyed rehab, but I'm glad he went. I think that was good for him. Maybe he had time to think.
Actually did a little meditation and stuff. He actually found a poem. He researched the first poem that was ever made about UFOs. And I sent it to you. Can you read that?
You did. Okay, I'll do my best here. Hearing tales of little men and speeding ships on high, around me almost every day I cast a wary eye. Today I saw men gathered around the hangar door. They said they saw a saucer, a tiny ship, they swore. They pointed to the cloudless sky, past vapor trails they sigh. I saw a far-off something shining in the sky. We watched it hard, it seemed to move as vapors drifted by. I felt the strangest feeling, so of course I know not why. A weather balloon sent up to give the weather for the day. Some said a star that shines so bright, we see it in the day. Illusion stars are man-made things, ships from other planets. We watched, we talked and wondered, but none of us could name it. Because I could not give them, the answer was not given. What is the thing that shines so bright, so far up in the heavens? It's pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty good. You know, when Jerry was in rehab, he actually made a poem himself, and he wants me to read it. Okay, Jerry, I'll read it.
Okay.
Okay. Jerry's poem. Roses are red, violets are blue. Probing you is such a fun thing to do.
Oh, dear.
So stop shooting at us as we pass, because if you don't, I'm going to kick your ass.
Oh my goodness, Jerry. Are you sure Jerry's sober? I'm just saying.
Yep, no, he's like I said, he's on rehab. He's not doing any more of that.
Oh.
Maybe that's just getting a little nasty. I don't know.
He's just a little bitter, maybe. Okay, well, I wonder if Jerry just needs a vacation. You know, I took a cruise, a celebrity cruise. It's Celebrity Cruise Line. We did that over Christmas. It was so much fun. And there's a famous celebrity cruise captain that I follow on Instagram. She goes by Captain Kate. She's really cool. And Captain Kate thinks she saw a UFO. Check this out.
Wow.
And I had a drone on board, so I thought it would be a nice night to catch a sunset. I had the drone in my hand,
And someone said, "What's that?" And we look up, and there was, I put it on TikTok, it looked like a black jellyfish, a gigantic black jellyfish, and it sailed right over the retreat, directly through the center line of the ship, right through our X and our stat, and just floated through. Thing was, we had no wind, maybe 5 knots at the time, but this thing was cruising along about 10, 15 miles per hour, just cruised right over, and as it passed the stern of the ship, it went a couple hundred meters, maybe 300 to 400 meters, and then it started to descend into the water. But because it was sunset, we couldn't put a rescue boat down to go see what it was, but it disappeared into the water, and we have it wasn't a drone, there was no noise associated with it, so if you want to see our UFO, it's on TikTok.
I think that's so cool. And there's another really quick clip that
Sure.
she posted too. Let's watch that.
That's
Pretty cool,
amazing.
right?
That's really cool.
I know. I love that. It makes me want to go on another cruise. All right. Before we bring Michael on, I want to share something else. It's just like a minute long. You know, I recently went to LA to shoot some stuff, a special for MUFON TV with host Sky Lefevre at Ron James Studio. We had a lot of fun. Check this out. Hey, everyone. Katie here. I'm out here in LA. What are we doing?
Hey, I'm Ron James. We're here at my studio in Los Angeles on the MUFON television set, and we're making a brand new production, MUFON's latest UFO videos, hosted by Sky Lefevre, everybody's favorite MUFON reporter, and our special guest, Katie. Back to Katie.
Hey, back to me. Katie's mic. 1, 2, 3, 4.
That is awesome.
Yeah, it was fun. I'll let you know as soon as I know more about when it's coming out. But the reason I wanted to show you that little teaser clip is because we had a special guest that day, and it was none other than our guest tonight, Michael Schratt, joined us on that and added so much to it. So I think without further ado, let me tell you a little bit about Michael, and we will bring him on. He is a military aerospace historian, and he's lectured across the country on the subject of mystery aircraft and classified propulsion systems buried deep within the military-industrial complex. Michael has developed several contacts who have had firsthand experience dealing with classified black programs, including former U.S. Air Force pilots, retired naval personnel, and aerospace engineers who have maintained a top-secret magic clearance. You've seen him on Hangar 1, The UFO Files, Unacknowledged and Ancient Aliens, among others. And Michael has written for Open Minds UFO magazine and currently works as an aerospace draftsman and researcher. Welcome to our show, Michael Schratt.
Hi, good to be with you.
Hello, Michael. How are you?
Great.
We are thrilled to have you with us. We have tons of questions for you, but we usually just like to kick off with our guests by saying, how in the world did you get into this?
First, I want to say that little thing with Jerry was about the most adorable thing I've ever seen.
Jerry.
That was really great.
Oh, poor Jerry.
Poor Jerry gets a lot of abuse for being an alien stuck down here.
It's not easy. It's not easy.
Especially with me. And I was waiting for you to comment about that piece of sausage because I was going to tell you that's my wife's dinner. I can't wait to tell her that you didn't like it.
Oh my gosh, you're going to be in so much trouble. All right, well, Michael, how in the world did you get into this crazy business of studying UFO craft?
Sure. I've always had an interest in aviation from a very young age and started going to the EAA Air Show in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. That was almost 30 years in a row. And things kind of just culminated and converged together. Started looking at different cases, interviewing people, pilots, engineers, people who worked on different programs, eyewitness cases, and then started going to research centers, university archives, special collections, private archives, and digging into these old, dusty, obscure, lost and forgotten cases, basically pulling cases that had a drawing, an illustration, a sketch, eyewitness report, and a flight path. And when I had those three things that satisfy the criteria, then it was a point where I would do kind of a SolidWorks drawing of it, and then kind of a 3D rendering, and that's how it all really began.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wow, that's so cool. Well, let's get right into it, Mike. I want to talk to you about the 1953 cigar-shaped craft case. Let's tell us all about that, because that was right up in my neck of the woods.
Okay, so I want to give credit to Linda Zimmerman, who is a New York-based UFO researcher, and she really deserves a lot more credit than she's gotten. I mean, she's just a fantastic researcher. She gave me this case, and she interviewed one of the 20 eyewitnesses that was basically a part of this. This is June 1953, Saugerties, New York. They're looking up, and they see this large 350-foot long cigar-shaped craft. It has a circular row of orbs along the center axis of the craft, and these were green and kind of red colored orbs. And they said that the witnesses indicated that there were two F-86 Sabre jets chasing after this thing at about a 45-degree angle, and when they got to the vicinity of where this craft was, it took off like a spark in a grinding wheel, made no sonic boom, departed the area, left the jets in the dust, and this is back in 1953. So someone or something had the technology to outpace our fastest, most modern fighter jets.
Wow. I have a couple questions. One is, how long do you think cigar-shaped craft have been around? I mean, yes, this was from 53, but any sense of how long?
It could be from the very beginning of this phenomenon, because it goes way prior to June 24th, 1947. We've got cases from the 1500s. These things have been reported for hundreds of years. So I would say it dates back from the very beginning. But modern day cases, probably sometime after 47.
And can I just ask quickly, I ask everybody this, and I've yet to really figure it out, but do you think there's any significance to which colors we see with different craft?
I think it perhaps has to do with the power generation. When they're at a low voltage power setting, they have one color, but when they start ramping up and powering up and energizing, they change to a different color. And we also see that in this fluttering leaf type maneuver that these craft make, and they change color as they start increasing their power source. We've seen that as well.
Okay, that's amazing, because you're the only person that's had an answer for me. I ask that question all the time, and everybody just goes, I don't know.
This guy is awesome. Mike, here's a question for you. This is the first case I've ever seen where the colors are actually rings around the craft.
That's correct.
Usually we talk about people, they're attached to the craft. But from the picture you're showing, they look like they're individually, they may be around the craft, but they're individually not attached to it. What's the story with that?
We don't really know what the purpose of those were, but that was, I drew that from the original sketch by Linda Zimmerman, who got it from the eyewitness. So it has paperwork, it has documentation to back it up, and all the cases that we're talking about tonight will absolutely have some type of paperwork, newspaper clipping to back it up. So I want to use the scientific principle so that people can verify this on their own, and they should get the exact same results that I'm getting.
Has there ever been any sightings of this exact type of craft, Mike?
Not that I know of. This is a one-off. This is absolutely a one-off.
So it could be like a different species just come down here and say,
possible.
hey,
It's possible.
Well, if they went to New York, they don't want to come back. I can tell you that right now. They can fly into New York City and see the garbage that's going on there. They go, you know what, lock the doors, let's go, kind of deal.
It could be. That could
Boy,
be.
that's you're not kidding, especially right now.
Yeah.
I wonder if we should just go ahead. Yeah, we've got time because we've got over 10 minutes before we go to break. You know what? Before we get to the next case, though, I just want to talk about your method of how you take all the information you can get from cases, other sketches, anything you can get, and you've had an illustrator make these beautiful pictures. I've never seen anybody do this the way you've done it. And of course, these are available in your book. I think we have a picture of your book cover, Amanda, if we can grab that real quick. Dark Files. I just was blown away by the illustrations. Can you talk to us about that method?
Sure. So a lot of this information came from Center for UFO Studies, which used to be 2457 West Peterson Avenue in Chicago. All of those files are now under the jurisdiction of David Marler in New Mexico now, in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And it's still available to the public. That's the funny thing. A lot of this information's been out there, but no one ever bothered to go to the library and do the digging. So over a period of 3 years, I was able to gain access to the QFOS files. I pulled the files out. Now, I'll try to do a first pass on the drawing, but if it's out of my league and capability, then I will commission the artwork from a professional artist. And that artist's name is Tom Bogan. Unfortunately, he's no longer with us, but his artwork survives in this book.
It's such good artwork.
Fantastic. Yeah, it's the best I've ever seen.
Come alive. The
really
goal
does.
is to put you there, like you're actually standing there looking at this. That was our goal, really.
I got to tell you, some of the artwork that I saw that Tom did was from Area 51 S4. I think you did a whole thing on that. Is that correct, Mike?
No, I didn't do that one with Tom.
Was Tom did that whole thing?
That was a different artist quite a long time ago.
Oh, okay. Because I mean, that was just amazing how they went through the whole thing about S4. Did you work on not there, but I mean, did you work on studying Area 51 at all?
Well, when I was doing that presentation, I was in Arizona, but I have since somewhat changed my perspective on that particular case.
Are you allowed to tell us that? Can you talk about that?
I don't know if I actually believe everything that was presented prior to that time, because I think we need more physical evidence. We need some secondary independent confirmation to confirm this. We need to get some pilot reports of that area, and that is really lacking. So I have an open mind, but I'm still skeptical.
Well, that's the way. Go ahead, Cookie.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I cut you off. Keep going.
No, I was just going to say, and I think any good investigator should do that and follow your lead exactly. And you know what? I really applaud you by turning around and going and saying, you know what? I've changed my mind. I think we need to look at this more. And that's the sign of a great investigator, is when, he says, I can be open to other things. Go ahead, Cook.
Well, and I just was, there's a good question here in our chat. Light rings, first time I've heard of that. Could they be creating an anti-gravity field which the ship travels through? I don't know.
It could be directly related to the propulsion system, but we just don't know because the pilots couldn't get to it. By the time the pilots got to the area that thing was at, it was already miles away.
Yeah.
It was already long gone.
Yeah, they don't hang around for us to check them out much. Well, and just answer, whatever you're comfortable answering here. But I know you focus so much on the craft and how they might be maneuvering. But I mean, what are your thoughts about who's in the craft and if there are certain kind of beings related to certain kind of craft? I mean,
it's very clear after all this, and I think a lot of people might have somewhat of the same opinion that there's a man-made component to this. There's no doubt about it. But they're not all man-made. We can't say that the craft from the 1500s were man-made because we've got multiple cases from that time frame. This is long before December 17th, 1903 at Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, where the first actual controlled flight took place. We're talking hundreds of years prior to that. So we can't say that all of these are man-made, and I'm the first to admit that. However, there is a man-made component to this. There could be an extraterrestrial component to this. There could be an interdimensional component to this. There could be a USO component to this. So when you wrap this all together, it's not just one phenomenon. It's multiple things converging at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Mike, you mentioned USO.
Yes.
Do you think there might be other species living actually here on the planet? I mean, you've done such amazing research. Do you think that maybe there's other species here on this planet that are living under the water? I mean, that has been brought up many times.
Even Jacques Vallée admits that 51% of all UFO cases are, in point of fact, USO cases, and it's an unsung part of ufology. We keep hearing about lights in the sky and aerial type phenomenon, UAP, but we really need to focus more on what's going on under our oceans. We've spent more time on the surface of the moon than we have on the bottom of our oceans.
Yeah, that's true. Debbie Ziegelmeyer, I think it was her that brought up, that some people have speculated there could be some sort of force field around the ship, that maybe as they're going in the water, they literally are just repelling the water away from them. I mean, you know a little bit more about how craft can work than we do. Is that even possible?
Well, if you look at the cases, they don't seem to have a problem going from one medium to the next. They'll be coming in at 1,000 miles an hour at an altitude of 2,000 feet, go right into the water, and there's not only no sonic boom, but there's no splash. Now, there are other cases where there is a splash, but whatever they are, whoever's in them or whatever's in them, they don't seem to have a problem going from one medium to the next. And what's also interesting is that whatever these UFOs are, they're tricksters. And I'll give you an example. These things can go and come as they please. They can materialize and dematerialize as they please. They've been seen going in and out of oceans. They've been seen going into the side of mountains with no impact. So whatever these things are, they're tricksters.
Yeah, I've never heard anybody describe it as tricksters before. It's true. Yeah, they're not exactly doing the cannonball and creating a splash. They're pretty sneaky. Do you think they could be living under the oceans? I mean, that's a lot of people.
Definitely. I definitely think that's possible. Absolutely.
Yeah. And maybe they've been here all along.
The USO cases were seen by the explorers in the 1600s. Huge light wheels were seen, 900 feet across. That's been documented. Anyone who's skeptical, and I've always said this, if you have a family member, if you have a friend who is a fence sitter on this phenomenon, I just recommend the book Uninvited Guests by Ivan T. Sanderson. That book will really, I think it changes opinions, it changes minds. You cannot read that book and come away thinking there's nothing to this, because it's just so well documented.
Who's the author again?
Ivan T. Sanderson. I'm sorry, Ivan T. Sanderson, Invisible Residence. That's the name of the book.
Okay.
Invisible Residence by Ivan T. Sanderson. There is no one that can walk away reading that book thinking there's nothing to this, because he gives you the documents, he gives you the U.S. Navy reports where the Navy's tracking these things underwater going 164 knots. They're tracked by submarines, by sonar. It's a real phenomenon. The Navy admits it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have nothing that can go 164 knots that I know of. So I mean, and I've talked to military people and stuff, and they kind of look at me like a deer in headlights when I say, "You got anything that can go over 100 knots?" Down there that can zigzag and stop on a dime, and they kind of go, "Huh? What? No, Chris."
Especially at that speed and at the depth they are, 26,000 feet in depth. So you're looking at a real advanced technology.
All right, listen, we're going to get to your cases, but Mike, I want to, before we get to that, what possessed you to write this book? Because I'm telling you, I can't wait to get my hands on it and stuff. I mean,
I've had the cases in my collection for years, and I always wanted to make it available to the public. It's not doing me any good. And since we already paid for a lot of this before, the Pentagon has shown that, why not make it available to the public and put it in a form where you can read this book in one day. This is not a real big project. Anyone can read this book in a day. And it's all fully illustrated. It's all fully referenced, so you can check the references. And when I was at the UFO conference up in San Francisco 2 years ago, Jim Goodall, my friend, and then Paul Hynek encouraged me to put this into a book form, and that's why I did it.
I love how digestible it is. I mean, like you said, you can read it in a day, but I feel like it's the kind of thing that a young person can pick up that might be interested in this, because this topic can be a little bit intimidating for people that just don't know where to start. It's a huge topic. And I don't know that I've ever seen like it's not a picture book. Well, it kind of is a picture book. I mean, there's plenty of information packed in with these pictures, but I just love that a young person could pick that up and get into it. That's really
exactly correct. Yep.
Yeah.
I just am amazed by the massive information that you've developed over the years. I mean, not only have you looked at these cases, analyzed them and stuff, but you have amassed a tremendous amount of UFO information. And I mean, you have a whole library of stuff, but
we haven't even scratched the surface. We got enough material to make it to the next ice age. So we haven't begun yet.
Well, we've only got about a minute to break. So let's remind everybody, of course, where they can get the book. Let's start with that.
Yep. The book is called Dark Files, A Pictorial History of Lost, Forgotten, and Obscure UFO Encounters. It's available on Amazon now.
Amazon. Okay. You guys definitely want to get a copy. I had a chance when we were out in LA and hanging out. He had a copy of it there. And like I said, I was just flipping through. I was blown away by the pictures. And I thought I knew about a lot of different kinds of craft, but there's so much in there. I was just like, what is this? What is this? So I've actually sent away for a copy. It didn't make it in time for the show because I wanted to hold it up like we always do. But well, guys, we have got just a few minutes of break, but don't go anywhere because we have a whole list of cases that we are going to go over with Michael. So you definitely don't want to go anywhere. You've got just enough time to run, grab a cup of coffee, and then come back and join us. We'll see you on the other side of the break.
I don't want to talk about it.
I don't want to talk about it.
Families don't have to talk about everything, but they should talk about how to plan for an emergency. Get tips and resources to make your family's emergency plan.
Hey members, the new KGRA-DB app is now available on iOS and Android devices. Gain on-demand access to any KGRA-DB programming. Download any show directly to your mobile device to listen or watch on the go. Go to the App Store and search KGRA-DB.
Welcome to the new KGRA digital broadcasting website, thekgradb.com. Here you'll find great new content, including the KGRA Classics, great shows from our archives. You'll be able to see the show times and information so you can see what show is currently on air. The on-air live button, so just go to this section and you'll be able to hear the show live with exceptional sound quality. We also have the Vault section. Make sure to subscribe to get access to great content and special features. We have the make content for our latest news and events, so make sure to sign up and you can be part of our forum. So make sure to check out the new KGRA digital broadcasting website, thekgradb.com. We look forward to seeing you there, and we hope that you enjoy the new website.
Come on, Chris, get down with me. Oh,
yeah,
we're missing.
I
we're
can't do it.
Katie tonight.
I'm about
she's
as coordinated as a bull with two legs broken.
I miss my dancing partner tonight, but we're getting on okay without Katie Grabowski. She'll be back with us. Welcome back to MUFON What's Up. Our guest tonight is Michael Schratt, and we're already off to a fascinating conversation. We still have a whole hour to go. I'm so thrilled because we have a lot of cases to go over. But Michael, I want to ask you this fresh here off the break. Besides speed and lack of noise, those are obvious. What are some other indicators that a craft may not be man-made?
May not be. Okay. If the craft is completely seamless, it might be something not man-made. If it does have those EM effects, it could go either way at that point. Talking about engine stopping, lights going off. We've got cases where it fried out the electrical harness. So those are two examples of where it might not be a man-made craft.
Yeah, good point.
Okay, Mike, let's talk about the 1966 Temple, Oklahoma case.
Sure. Okay, so I don't know if we have that one there. Okay, so let's go. The background story here is there's an electrical engineer by the name of Eddie Laxton, and he was working at Shepherd Air Force Base. It's approximately 5:05 in the morning, and this is a Project Blue Book case. Anyone can verify this. It's at the National Archives. It's an actual official U.S. government Project Blue Book case that you can read on your own. And so he's going to his morning commute a little bit after 5 in the morning. So as you see here, this drawing by illustration by Tom shows the sun kind of coming up over the horizon. It's a little bit dark out yet, but we can still see this orange sky here. So he's driving down the road. And again, date on this, March 22nd, 1966, Temple, Oklahoma, on the border there. And as he's driving down the road, his headlights hit something. He's thinking, what is this? So he puts on the brakes, and what he sees is what you're looking at here in Tom's illustration. This is it can be described as a fallen over bowling pin. That's the best way to describe this thing. A bowling pin tipped over 90 degrees horizontally. This thing was about 75 feet across, about 8 feet wide, about 8 feet tall. And we'll start at the beginning here. On the right-hand side of the craft, there was a bubble transparent canopy that in the report, Eddie Laxton said, looks like it came off a B-26 bomber. So you can Google B-26 bomber and you'll see exactly what the forward transparent canopy of this thing looked like. Now, just after that B-26 canopy, there were two beaming spotlights, very powerful, that were shining vertically down. Above them, there were two beaming spotlights that were shining forward toward the forward portion of the craft itself. Now, this whole thing was supported about 3 feet off the ground on these lunar landing gear, pogo landing gear legs. He also mentioned that. Just aft of the forward landing gear legs, there was an air stair door that was open, showing some of the interior components of the craft itself. And then, what was really interesting, and this is all from Eddie Laxton, he said he saw a man, not an alien, not an extraterrestrial, a man wearing two-piece green military fatigues. He was shining a flashlight near the bottom of the air stair door, and he had a baseball cap with the bill turned up. That's what he said, basically word for word. Above and just to the aft of this air stair door opening, there was a stinger or spire that swept back toward the aft end of the craft that terminated in about a 10-inch diameter ball, which is interesting as well. On the starboard side of the aircraft, which we're looking at now, there was a circular window, porthole window, that was divided into 4 equal pie segments that was about 3.5 feet in diameter. Now, just aft of that porthole window, and this is probably the most important part of the entire case, there were these black letters that were written vertically, and they read TL4768 on the side of the craft, TL4768. And I have a standing award or prize, $100 cash prize for anyone who can correctly, with supporting documentation, decipher what that actually means. I don't think we know. I don't think anyone knows. It could have something to do with the Atomic Energy Commission. We don't know. Now, after that black lettering, there was another series of lights that shone toward the aft end of the craft. And at the very far end there were these control surfaces that were too small to be of any aerodynamic significance. Now, when the man in the two-piece green military fatigue saw that he was being watched by Eddie Laxon, he climbed up this air stair door, he slammed the door shut, and then, according to the Project Blue Book case, official U.S. government Air Force Project Blue Book case, Eddie Laxon said that he heard a high-pitched drilling noise, and then the entire craft hovered off the ground about 20 feet, sat there for 30 seconds, and then he said it accelerated like a spark on a grinding wheel, made no sonic boom. Okay, this is back in 1966. He got back into his car, drove another half mile down the road where he came across a truck driver who was standing on the running boards of his truck on the driver's side. And when Eddie Laxon pulled over, he asked him if he needed any assistance. And he said that he had seen almost an identical craft, probably the exact same craft that Eddie Laxon had seen just a few minutes earlier. So we had independent confirmation from two separate sources that saw this aircraft.
Oh my gosh, where do I start with this one? Okay, so just looking at that picture, obviously you were going from descriptions. It is so smooth. We were just talking about how that could be an indication that something is not man-made. And yet they see a man, what appears to be a man. So are we dealing with an alien who's pretending to be a man? Are we dealing with time travel? And this is a man who has come back. Any thoughts?
Sure. Well, according to Eddie Laxon, and we have his original newspaper clipping, what he saw, he felt that what he saw was absolutely a government craft. For a number of reasons, the high-pitched drilling noise, the bubble transparent canopy, the TL4768 written on the side of the craft. So at least 5 indicators that this is one of ours, and I completely believe them.
Okay, so this tells us then that we always hear that we're so much further ahead than what we ever know, what they're telling us that we have in terms of technology.
Correct.
I mean, people throw around numbers like we're at least 40 years ahead of what anybody says we have. Do you believe that to be true? It must be true.
Not only do I believe that to be true, but I believe that's a conservative number. If they say that we're 40 years ahead, I don't want to go out too much on a limb, but you could put another 0 on that. It's possible. It's possible. And if you think about the implications of what that means, right? This is back in 1966. This is 3 years before Neil Armstrong set foot on the moon. And they're using liquid and solid rockets, and we're still using liquid rockets today. Was Neil Armstrong briefed on this technology? Because it predated his flight by 3 years. And yet, here we have Buzz Aldrin, Neil Armstrong. They're on the moon using liquid rockets, obsolete liquid rockets. You've got the Saturn V booster that's 7,700,000 pounds of static thrust with all these liquid rockets and nitrogen tanks and liquid hydrogen, liquid oxygen. You're mixing these two. It's a lash up. It's a dinosaur. It's the way of the dodo bird. I just want to know, was Neil Armstrong told about this technology before he climbed in the top section of that rocket and strapped in? Also,
he probably saw the technology when he got up on the moon.
What was Krista McAuliffe told about this on January 28th, 1986, when we lost the Challenger? Were the Challenger astronauts briefed about this technology? That's what I want to know.
That's heartbreaking to think about.
We do know NASA had a secret astronaut program because they started back in, I think it was the 50s, where they wanted to put a platform in space. They wanted to develop a secret space program. And they had developed secret astronauts that when they said they got rid of the program, they put them over to the Challenger. And 2 of the Challenger astronauts actually came out and said, no, we were in this other program. They publicly came out and said that. But I got to tell you, I'm looking at this picture, and after you describe, here's the things that I catch. First of all, the chevrons that were drawn on the guy's uniform. First of all, that uniform, that green fatigue uniform, was always there until the early 80s when they started going to camouflage. Okay. So the green fatigues, the plain green fatigues, are definitely what our U.S. military used back in those days. That is a standard utility, what's called a utility uniform. That's number one. Number two, the chevrons that were on this guy's size represents something like a master sergeant or a high-ranking sergeant, which would be like a crew chief if this is an Air Force project and stuff. And I doubt very much if any aliens or time travelers, because as you know now, they've gotten away with a lot of stuff on the utilities. You wear them on your collars. So, but years ago, you used to wear them right on the utility sleeves, just like that. So that makes me think that this is a U.S. government project with that. All ships back then had a number on them and stuff. So whatever TL4768 was, it still is a serial number. So that tells me there was probably more than one craft.
That's right. Thank you for saying that. I couldn't have said that better myself.
And well, I mean, I'm going off by what you're saying, and of course, I'm just so thrilled about this that I'm looking at this guy. The only thing that's kind of wonders me why he would think he'd be surprised. They landed on a road. He's got a flashlight. You would say, "Oh my God, we landed on this main highway. Sooner or later, somebody's going to come." So it had to be some kind of emergency landing like they did with Cash Landrum. I mean, Cash Landrum was a fiasco that I think was a government project also that they just couldn't, for some reason or another, something went wrong with it. So that's what I'm thinking is happening with this project here. Of course, they call the baseball cap. It wasn't baseball, but it was kind of like a baseball cap back years ago with that and stuff. The classic dome in the front is almost like a B-52 type of shape. You could, if that is accurate that way and stuff like that. And those lights that are very bright in the front, as you know better than I do, those could be considered landing lights almost, correct?
Sure. Yep.
And stuff. So I got to tell you, I think this one here with the military symbols and everything else, the only thing that I'm just curious about is that noise that the propulsion system made.
That's right. Well, that's something that I've heard about 10 other times where when these things power up just before they levitate off the ground, there's this high-pitched drilling noise, and it keeps on popping up again and again and again. So it's related to
What is your hypothesis on that, Michael?
Okay,
What do you think?
I think it's related to high-voltage electrical fields, something like a Wimshurst generator powering up. Because if you look at the newspaper clippings, vintage 1955, there were a lot of universities that were desperate to crack the gravity barrier. That's the exact words they use. And from looking what we see here in this case, they've done it. They've made the breakthrough.
Amazing.
And I'm shocked about it because the implications of what this means are staggering. It doesn't mean what is Elon Musk doing with all these liquid rockets? All the billions that have been poured into solid rockets and boosters and liquid rockets, it's all obsolete. They already did away with this. It's already a done deal.
Maybe he's not allowed to do something.
It's possible.
More advanced.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's possible.
We have a question from chat. They're wondering about the hook on top, if that could be to hook up a smaller craft on the bottom.
I believe it is a spark gap mechanism, and it has to do with high voltage electrical fields. And it looks similar to the vintage trolley cars in downtown San Francisco, where they had this hook that came over that attached to the wire. That's what these things look like. But I believe it's a spark gap mechanism, and it might have to do with fields of electrical charges that are being dissipated.
Okay. Why don't we get on to the 1972 Venezuela ball?
Sure.
Let's talk about that.
Problem. Yep. I've got the original sketch here, but this was buried in the QFOS archives for decades. I don't think it's ever been seen. The file was never even opened. It was never published in any magazine that I know of. And as soon as I saw this case, I thought, wow, I've got to do a drawing of this one. So I don't know if we have the illustration for this one. Here we go. Oh, okay, we can start there too. But this is December 26, 1972. In Venezuela, and I've got this is kind of the second part of this illustration. The first part is where the craft is actually hovering over the city. So it's the father, it's the mother, and it's the young daughter. They're on the top of their 14th floor apartment complex. They're looking off to the right, and they see this elliptical shaped craft about 60 feet across. And it kind of looked like a flame on an engine nacelle on an airliner coming to their location. That's what they originally thought this thing was, because they were expecting to see this airliner come to their location. As it got closer, this was no airliner. This is what the craft actually looked like here. Kind of hard to see it, but that's what the craft looked like. And it had these two half hemispherical domes that were opposing each other with this continuous blue arcing light going between them. Again, this is December 26, 1972. So he called his daughter to go next door to get a pair of these 8x50 binoculars. And he looked through these binoculars and got a very detailed look at what this thing actually looked like. Now, around the, you could say, back one half of the craft and the very end of the craft, there were these double cast iron exhaust ports with these lasagna noodle, you could call them violet colored electrical discharge flames coming out of these cast iron exhaust ports. And this thing flew by and made about a 45-degree tip-up angle, avoided some buildings, and then went to the nearby airport. And then another craft identical to this one flew by almost the exact same flight path. So again, December 26, 1972, and this is in Venezuela.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
That's crazy.
Strange craft that I don't think has ever been published anywhere.
So, Michael, let me ask you a question of this now, because this shows a whole different type of propulsion system that I'm looking at, in that picture. And this, I mean, the way it looks to me, could it be hydrogen plasma? Could it be like a helium?
The witness said that the quote unquote flames that were coming out of these cast iron exhaust ports, they didn't look like campfire flames. They looked more of like an electrical discharge. Again, 1972. This is still within the range of the Apollo program. Were our Apollo astronauts briefed on this technology? Because it's not using liquid rockets. Mm-hmm. It's not using solid liquid. There's something else going on here that we're missing. The aerospace community. We're missing something that we haven't been told about.
Yeah.
Do you think maybe Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong were trying to let this out? Because it sounds to me like when they had, because there's that famous 4 minutes missing that went to the private medical channel with Neil Armstrong, that nobody knows what was said, but everybody's been alluded to the fact that they were witnessing a disc-shaped object on the moon. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, we all know that Neil Armstrong was a very private individual. He didn't really give interviews. He was very quiet, a very classy gentleman, a very quiet, reserved type person. You would think that he'd kind of want to try to drop some type of hints, but I just don't know how far he could take it. Maybe he wasn't allowed to. Maybe it was burning up inside his soul that he wanted to say something. But as far as I know, he really didn't hint toward this level of technology. He may have been briefed. I don't know. Does anybody know? That's a question that I want to know.
Well, I mean, you keep saying, and I agree with you. The astronauts been asked several times, hey, did you see anything? And they're starting to come out saying, yeah, was it Michael Collins said that a craft was following his craft as he was circling the moon? Story Musgraves talks about seeing some strange phenomenons. There's one, I can't think of his name right now, but there's one astronaut that says he's scared about coming out with it because he was told, don't ever come out with this stuff. And then, of course, NASA's been doctoring photos and everything from what I understand.
At the very least, we haven't been told the entire story of what level of technology has been used. Because if this case is true, which it is, because there's a 5-page report that goes with, there are multiple eyewitnesses. it's a legitimate case. Plus the government's own Project Blue Book case, they're the ones saying that it's real, not me. They're the ones who's saying it's real. We have absolutely made a breakthrough, and they're pushing us all in the back, and they're just moving forward. They're leaving us all behind. So kind of earlier when we talked about technology that might be 40 years in advance, we could be looking at 400. It's possible.
Well, I can tell how passionate you are about this, and even angry that we are being kept in the dark.
Everybody should be.
Yeah.
Yes, I am.
So let's talk about, what, obviously we don't know exactly what their motivation is, but what would your gut tell you? Is it boiling down to money, power?
Sure. I think it boils down to one thing. They want to control the high ground, because in a battlefield, when you control the high ground, you control the war. And so that's what it is. They've got to control the high ground. So I get their point. I see that. But at what cost, right? At what cost? How many lives could be saved with this technology? What about the shipping industry? What about the medical industry? What about the utilities, the power plants, the nuclear power plants, all the wind farms, all the coal fire plants? Using this technology, we can do away with all that.
Well, yeah, there's no reason for a single human on this earth to be starving. I mean, there's no reason why we can't get everything that everybody needs to
That's
them.
correct.
And it does make me so frustrated.
You know what makes me mad, Michael?
Yeah.
It's because if you're correct, and this just torques me now, if you're correct that they're like 400 years ahead,
Right.
whatever they developed 200 years ahead of time, they could give us. Because if they're 400 years ahead, they can give us the stuff that they've thrown away. Because Ben Rich has said that. Ben Rich has said, we have gotten stuff, and we said, nah, we don't even need that anymore. We're over here now, kind of deal.
Well, even if you look at movies like The Fifth Element, where you see these flying taxi cars, it's probably a real thing. It's probably a real thing, and beyond.
Well, we know the concept of fusion, not fission, but fusion with electromagnetic hydrogen propulsion, that you convert hydrogen to helium-4. Helium-4 can make a tremendous amount of energy, and you can also disrupt gravity with that. From what my understanding is, all the research I've done, all the military people I've spoken to and stuff. And it's just amazing that, if we're gone past Star Wars, which Ben Rich has said, he says, we've done everything Star Wars has done. We've done everything that Star Trek has done. There's got to be some of that stuff that is so obsolete now that they could make a commercial. I mean, because, I'm driving a freaking Toyota Yaris out here because of the gas prices out here in New York. And if they're sitting on zero energy, where I can go get myself a decent, a better, bigger gas guzzler, I'm going to be a pissed person.
Well, think of it this way. The Germans used liquid rockets in World War II. That was well over 75 years ago. And we're being told that that's the best technology we've got is liquid rockets. That's the best way to access space after 75 years. We need to look at that.
Well, somebody's still getting very rich off that, I guess.
Correct.
I mean, that's all
correct.
I can think of. So, let's, why don't we move on to another case? Because I'm loving these. There's a 1994 Brett B. Repton.
Oh, sure. Yes. Mm-hmm. Good. Okay. So reference for this one, and this is all documented. This is Burton Daily Mail, England, March 3rd, 1995. The encounter actually took place in 1994, but it was published in this newspaper clipping. So backstory is, gentleman is driving to work in the morning. He's on his motorcycle. The motorcycle completely conks out. There's something going on here. So he looks up and he notices that he's completely engulfed in white light. And when he looks up, he sees a big square. And on the bottom of the square, there were these high intensity beaming spotlights that were shining vertically down on him. And he also saw tubes, pipes, and cylinders on the bottom of this square, we'll call it. Now, as he moved off to the side, he noticed that this was not a square. This was the base of a large pyramid. Now, his motorcycle was completely disabled. He had to walk the motorcycle about 3 miles home. And then when investigators got to him later, this is about 2 weeks after this actually took place, and this is documented. This is a documented case. There was one gentleman that was interviewing the primary eyewitness. He wanted to have a cigarette, so he pulled out one of these small metal Zippo lighters out of his pocket. And as soon as he pulled it out, this lighter literally leapt out of his hand and went right to the gas tank. The entire motorcycle was magnetized. So this is a CE1 and it's a CE2 because it had physical effects.
Okay, yeah. Was he harmed in any way? Any kind of radiation after
He
effects?
really wasn't harmed, but as far as the motorcycle is concerned, I think was completely disabled. Completely disabled.
Oh, so what? Sorry, Chris, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Cookie.
Well, I'm just wondering. So, in your opinion, could this be man-made, or
It's very possible because these tubes, pipes, and cylinders, they show up again too, and that's kind of one way we can link all these cases together because they're separated by space and time, but yet they have this common denominator like pipes and tubes and cylinders on the bottom of them. For example, the same pipes and tubes and cylinders were seen on the bottom of the Belgium Triangle back in 1989, 1990, and the same stacked Legos, quote unquote, and pipes and cylinders were seen on the bottom of the Southern Illinois Triangle January 5th, 2000. They have the same type technology.
I'm fascinated by this because Arizona had a similar case. Stacy Wright and Jim Mann told me about a case that they had on the Navajo reservation where a car actually encountered a bright glowing orb, red orb, and it ended up they had the woman who was driving the car probably had a screen memory because she saw a giant rabbit as she parked the car. But the next day when they investigated, they found out that half the car was magnetized.
That's right.
And there was a sharp investigator down there, and what he did, he took fluid samples from the car, the oil from the car. I think he also took some of the brake fluid and transmission fluid. I'm not sure all of it, but he did get a report back that the oil composition in this had changed dramatically.
That's interesting. Now that's a good CE2 right there. When it changes the oil, that's a CE2 right there.
Exactly. And the case that you're presenting with us today is so similar to that case because they could not explain the magnetized half of the car. They said this, and especially the other half that wasn't. It was just the part that was exposed to this unidentified flying object, and the other side that wasn't exposed had no effects, whatever. But the oil that was in the car, the composition changed and anything. Do you know if there's any other physical effects with this motorcycle besides the magnet?
Just the magnet. That's what it says in the report, the newspaper clipping. Mm-hmm. Fully magnetized.
Wow.
But do you think there's any significance to the pyramid shape? Because I don't hear that shape all that often.
I think that whatever is building these things, they can do any shape they want to. It doesn't matter because these things do not fly using aerodynamic principles. That has nothing to do with the Bernoulli theory of flight because these things are floating like an oil pathway in the sky rather than flying.
Yeah.
Mike, didn't one of the aircraft carriers have a pyramid sighting too? Was it the Roosevelt?
It may be, and we've got that one in our list of things that we're going to cover here if we want to go on to that case.
No, we'll stick with it. But I'm just recently there was I think either a battleship or an aircraft carrier that showed. I think it was a green film that showed a pyramid.
Yeah, I saw that too. Did you see that? And that might be a function of the camera. I'm not sure, but I did see that as well. Yes.
Right. And when we talk about how they maneuver and stuff, my understanding that some people theorize that it kind of creates a hole in the front of it. You know, that they kind of use it almost like what Albert the theory of compressing, space and time, where you compress it like a surfboard and fly it forward. Kind of the Albert Geek, or whatever that guy's name is. You're just able to kind of move it so fast in front. I mean, that's what they're thinking. I wonder if they don't, like you said, they don't care about shape. They just care about, having the ability to compress space and time to do that. Slingshot.
So this is exactly what the eyewitnesses are reported. Like 5,000 miles an hour in one straight line, then make a 90-degree left-hand turn, and there's no G-forces. There's no inertia associated with this. So if there's anyone inside, they're not feeling the G-forces, so it doesn't matter. It's a done deal to them. They've already made the breakthrough. They've cracked the gravity barrier.
Yeah. Ooh, okay. Well, let's work in another case. How about 1995 Buxton, England case?
Sure, no problem. Got that one too. So the reference for this is Burton Daily Mail, England, February 17th, 1995. This is another case where this is an early morning commute, and the gentleman was driving down kind of an S-shaped road. There was a diversion around a bridge, so he made a turn, and then he was kind of like looking up, and he saw these beaming spotlights, and then he looks up and he sees this about 60-foot long elliptical shaped craft. Now it had a notch cut out of it. There were two beaming spotlights out front. He looked up, and this is the newspaper clipping right here. It shows you the original sketch from the newspaper clipping. He looks up, and on the bottom of it, what does he see? He sees these same tubes, pipes, and cylinders. Now, when you interview these people that have seen these pipes on the bottom of these craft, some instances indicate that the witnesses state that this thing looked like, quote, a Midas muffler plant. That's what these things look like. They look like silencers. They look like pipes. Now, I've really tried to discover what these things could be, right? They have to have some purpose. They wouldn't just be on there for no reason. So if you look into the superconductors only become conductive when they're super chilled down to almost absolute zero. So this could be a cooling apparatus using liquid nitrogen for a superconductor. And that's my assessment of what we're looking at here on the bottom of these craft.
Okay, let me ask you this. The like headlights out front. Does ET need headlights? If we even have this advanced technology? I mean, we've got incredible stealth craft. I feel like we're just supposed to be seeing this, that whoever's doing this, whether it's the human-made craft or whatever, that they want us to see them.
Well put. That's well said. I think that's all part of this, because they are brazen. They can come and go when they want to. They're brazen, and they can test these things. Obviously, they're operational. And as you had mentioned, Chris, with the serial number, we're looking at kind of maybe a low production run. There's more than one of these things. And the fact that you're right, they don't need lights. Even Stanton Friedman said that, what is the purpose of flashing lights on alien spacecraft? It could only be for decoration. They don't need it.
Yeah,
they don't need navigation lights.
If you're coming hundreds of thousands of light years to come here, you don't need headlights or taillights on crap.
So, in fact, these lights, they flash in sequence. We've got reds going off. We've got greens going off. We've got blues going off. And then the pattern repeats. This is not an alien spacecraft.
Yeah, I don't think it could be. Our co-producer Amanda had a funny comment. She said, if the craft has a missing door, you might be a redneck.
Yeah, true.
I will ask you one question here.
Sure.
Mike, do you remember a picture of they thought was a craft underwater, been there for quite some time? It almost had the same shape. It had the two cylinders on the back. Have you ever seen that picture?
Not sure if I've seen that, but again, 51% of all these UFO cases that we've heard for the last 75 years are USO cases. So they could be originating from under the oceans.
Amazing.
Okay, should we get to another one? I'm loving these cases.
Sure.
76. How do you say that? Colusa, California?
Colusa, California, correct. I've got the newspaper clipping here. This is from the Sun Herald, Colusa, California. The actual report is, the case is May 26, 1979. All right, backstory is it's about 11:30 p.m. at night. Primary eyewitness was watching television. His wife and two kids were sleeping in the nearby bedroom. And all of a sudden, right around 11:30 p.m. at night, the television goes out. Concurrently, the air conditioning unit goes out as well. So he gets off the couch. He circles back to the back side of the house. He looks at the circuit breaker box that you see here in this illustration by Tom. And immediately, and I'm talking immediately, after looking at that circuit breaker box, the hair on his arms starts standing up. The hair on his chest starts sticking up. The hair on his head starts standing up. Not only that, they were crackling. His hair was making a crackling noise. His entire area, the surrounding area in his local proximity, was in this static electrical charge field. So he looks up and he sees what you see here in this drawing is a 140-foot diameter dish-shaped craft. And we'll start on the top here. The top dome had these very interesting ridges on them, similar to a vintage lemon squeezer or lemon juicer. They look like these old vintage orange juice squeezers that I've certainly used them before. Maybe some others people have used them too, but that's what this thing looked like. It had these ridges on them. Now, on the bottom of the craft, there were these conduit pipes that had frayed edges. That's what you can see here. There were 6 of them. They all had frayed edges. So I thought, what's a better word that we can use than conduit pipe? Because that really doesn't describe it. To me, I don't know about you guys, but to me, they look like ramen noodles. That's what they look like to me.
You're making me hungry.
Yeah,
Ramen
so there are
noodles.
these ramen noodles dangling from the bottom of the craft. And on the left and right side of the craft, there were these double prong devices. So there's that prong protrusion thing again. Now, off to the left, he noticed that there was another craft that was half the size as the 140-foot diameter craft, and it was pulling power off the 500,000 volt power lines, causing them to become cherry red. So right there, it's a CE1 and it's a CE2 because it had physical effects. Now, a few minutes later, whatever these ramen noodles were that had frayed edges, they retracted into the bottom of the craft. At the very same time, these double prong devices, they retracted 90% into the bottom of the craft, not 100%, but 90%. And then on the upper left and right side of the craft, there were these gooseneck lights that popped out, and they were shining a light at the bottom of the area here. And so that's kind of the first scene in this Calusa, California case. And if we can possibly move to scene 2 in this Calusa case, we can kind of go over what happened next here. But, okay, we can go here too. Now, what happened next is this large craft was kind of in the backyard, and it made a very interesting maneuver. Now, keep in mind, folks, that this is 1979. This 140-foot diameter dish-shaped craft goes from a dead standstill to hovering over these low-rolling hills in the background of the scene that were 25 nautical miles away. It did in less than 1 second and then repeated the movement. So it had transversed 50 miles in less than 2 seconds, made no sonic boom. This is back in 1979. Now, this large craft, essentially the father tells his wife and 2 kids, you know what, we got to get out of here. I don't know what this thing is. This could be a hostile threat. I don't know what it is. We're out of here. So he piles everybody into the pickup truck. They're going 90 miles an hour down the road, and this is in the newspaper clippings. It talks about how they're screaming down the road at 90 miles an hour, and that large craft starts following them. It goes over to the left-hand side of the cab of the craft where the primary eyewitness is driving, back over to the top of the cab, over to where the wife is sitting, and then back over to the left-hand side. They eventually make it over to the neighbor's house. They screech on the brakes. They pile out of the truck. They start slamming on the door of the neighbor's house. 2 neighbors come out. So you've got the original 4 witnesses plus the 2 neighbors. There were 6 eyewitnesses that saw that large craft kind of depart at a 45-degree angle. So in a nutshell, that's the May 26, 1979 Calusa, California case.
Now,
wow.
Let me just ask really quick on this.
Yeah.
They went after the power lines. So they're probably drawing energy, but they kind of destroyed it too, didn't they?
Well, there was a blackout in that entire city. That entire area had a major blackout. So it's the best CE2 case. It's a very good CE2 case.
Mike, do you get a lot of cases where they're drawing power from power? Because there's a couple of theories about their energy sources. Dave Toom has talked to us about them drawing power from the sun. He's got pictures of crafts that are drawing actual plasma, hydrogen plasma right from the sun, kind of a deal. People say they can extract hydrogen, and I keep going back to that because that's the catchword all the time. But they're drawing it from water, that they use water. They can extract energy from water.
It's possible.
But we see now, or have you seen, a lot of high tension power lines having power drawn from them?
I have seen more than one case that has that, but the point I want to make is I'm thinking, are we being played here? Is someone passing off one of our aircraft and painting it with the alien brush? Are we being played here? Because aliens, they don't need to pull power off of a power line. If they've come so far away, if they've come from 1.2 million light years away, they don't need our power source. They're not using the same power source that we're using. Are we being played? And then the fact that this thing had conduit pipes with frayed edges, are we being played here?
All right, Cookie and I are going to go down that rabbit hole because I think we're going to do it. So we know that the U.S. government has at times played disinformation or misinformation in order. They've admitted it before on certain things. They just did it with Ukraine and a couple of things that, they just come out and admitted, yeah, we kind of made that up and stuff. So with the UFO thing, yeah, I mean, if we have this technology and it gets out there and people see it, Richard Doty has said this. I don't know if you know Richard Doty, but yes. Richard Doty has said, yeah, we played false flags and false information all the time in order for us to spin the narrative the way we want it. It's all about spinning the narrative.
Well done. Yes.
And that's why you start seeing this word threat now. You start seeing all these UFO experts starting using the word, well, it's a threat to our airspace and a threat to this, and there's physical effects that could be a threat, even though they may not want to hurt us, which probably not. But this word threat is coming all over. Cookie, what do you think?
I think you're right. Well, go ahead.
Yeah, my mind's all over the place. First of all, when I saw those things dangling, my first thought was, okay, maybe taking soil sample or water sample, like you were saying, Chris, but it just seems so goofy. I mean, it's like, if they are so advanced, and we have to be, I think, careful if we're really dealing with ET, maybe not to anthropomorphize them so much and be like, well, they should act exactly the way we would act. If we're advanced, we'd make it look like this. And I do think we do have to sometimes step back and understand that we don't know anything about them and what they're like and why they might make craft the way they do. But when I see a picture like that, I just think that's man-made. It's kind of goofy. And then my mind goes to, is this just a case of let's show up to enough people that they all start talking amongst themselves, get away from this idea of government disclosure. Let's just get all the humans going, I saw a UFO, you saw one too. And if enough people talk about it, then it's going to get easier for them to do whatever they're going to do next. And I don't think any of us know what the heck that is, but I feel like it is a form of priming, which I think is maybe what you're getting at. We're kind of being primed.
Yes, right. Well put. That's exactly what I'm thinking.
Mike, here's the other thing too. Mm-hmm. If you've come millions of light years away from here and you have the technology to do this, you don't chase a pickup truck. You can stop it on a dime. It's just like you said, why, can somebody up there, let's go chase the humans, see where they're going to go, let's follow. Maybe they're going to Dairy Queen. I mean, come on. You can stop that truck whenever you little heart desires.
Exactly.
I mean, this is more like we want you to get scared, so you tell everybody that there's this thing from outer space. And when I start seeing things like, okay, why are they chasing a truck? Why are they taking a power line out? Stuff of that nature. That makes me think U.S. military. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
but
in a lot of these cases, you hear again and again that the witnesses said that there was this low-frequency electrical humming noise that sounded like an electrical transformer or a sewing machine. That keeps on popping up again and again.
All right, I have another thought here.
Yep.
We know enough about the human brain that if we were to see something that we literally cannot comprehend, it is so far beyond anything that our brain can try to piece together, that we might just fill in the gaps, right? So what if it's a case that these craft are not quite as silly and, goofy as I'm saying? What if it is something energetically so far out there that the brain just plugs in an image? Is that possible?
It's possible. It's possible. Yeah, it's possible.
And it might make sense of it, like so many people would be like, it looked like, washing machine parts coming up. And you're just like, what? That just is ridiculous. Even if our government has this kind of technology, why would they make something look so silly? So that's the only other thing I can make sense of is it's just the brain doing it, just like almost like a screen memory. If somebody can't handle seeing a otherworldly being, they might be like, it looked like a character out of Wizard of Oz. The brain can just do that. So it's the only other thought I have. Chris, are we ready to move on to another case? Because I want
go for it, man. This guy is exciting.
Okay, let's go to Falcon Lake. And I want to apologize. We don't have every single picture from these cases. We might only have one or two. So I apologize if it's kind of like we jump from 1 to 3.
That's fine.
Okay. Let's look at Falcon Lake.
All right, good. That works. Okay, so Falcon Lake, Canada. This is May 19th, 1967. This is one of those top 10 cases within ufology. I would argue it might be a top 3. It's possible, but it's absolutely within top 10. All right, so our primary eyewitness is a man named Stephen Mekulik. He died a couple of years ago. Very good case, very famous case within ufology. And he was kind of a rock hound. He was a mineral collector. And so he was searching for different rocks. And what he was wearing is critical. He was wearing heavy pants. He had kind of working boots on, heavy plaid shirt. He had leather gloves on, and he had a welder's goggle on because when he was chipping away with rocks, he didn't want to have anything damage his eyes. So that's kind of the sight picture here. Now, he noticed that there were some geese or birds in the vicinity that took off. They made kind of this chaotic maneuver, and he looked up, and what does he see? He sees 2 of these things. There were 2 35 to 40 foot diameter dish-shaped craft, kind of had a very nice chrome exterior. One of them took off, so that one was gone. The other one landed about 200 feet from his location, and here's what's interesting. It sat there for a half an hour before he even approached it. So he got a real good look at this thing. It was sitting there for 30 minutes. So he walks up to this craft, again, 40-foot diameter dish-shaped craft, and he notices that there's a double row of slots around the outer section of the dome itself, around the outer circumference of the dome. And there was this interesting entryway hatch that was about 3 foot long and about 20 inches wide. Now, radially oriented around the vertical axis of this craft was another little hatch. Now, this one was much smaller, and it had these very interesting pinprick 1/16 inch diameter holes that were evenly spaced, like someone did this with a CNC device and dropped in and plunged these holes perfectly spaced. Okay, so he's walking up to this craft. This entryway door hatch has opened now, and there's this interesting violet pastel light that's originating from the interior that's shining outward. So he looks in this craft. Can you imagine this? He's looking in this craft, and he doesn't see anyone, but he hears an unintelligible language that he didn't know what was, and he hears laughter. That's something that pops up again and again, laughter. Wow. So he speaks in English, in French, in German, and Polish, trying to raise someone, but no one was there. Now, next thing that happened is this door slams shut, and this craft rotates about 20 degrees counterclockwise so that that smaller type exhaust port lines up with him. The craft lifts off the ground about 12 inches, and there's this strange exhaust gas that comes out of that small port. And what's interesting is the whole pitch pattern on this exhaust port lined up perfectly with the burn marks on his chest, which were reoccurring years after this actually took place. Now, a friend of mine, Antonio Huneas, who I used to work with, he gave me the photograph of the landing trace case from the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. Thank you. That's it right there. So, ladies and gentlemen, you're looking at the actual landing site. And if you look closely, you can see the circular outline of where this thing came down. So this is May 19th, 1967, Falcon Lake, Canada.
Wow. Incredible. And I'm just looking at the time. We've got, like 7 minutes left. So let's try to kind of squeeze in a couple more here.
No problem.
The Father Gill case. Can we get to
Father
that?
Gill case. Good. Good. Excellent case. This is known as the Father Gill case. It's also known as the They Look Back case as well. Now, here's the site picture here. We've got a 35-foot diameter, two-tiered wedding cake. The lower section of the craft is 35 feet in diameter. The upper craft is about 20 feet in diameter. And Father Gill sees what looks like 4 men, not aliens, but 4 men that were standing on the deck of the section on top. 2 of them were near the rim of the craft. The other 2 were near the center of the craft, and they looked like they were repairing something like quote-unquote mechanical equipment or instrumentation. Isn't that interesting? Now, what happened next is Father Gill raised his hand above his head and waved to whoever or whatever was on the top deck of this craft itself, and they actually waved back. Can you believe it or not? They waved back. And he took this lighted device, and he was moving that back and forth from the left to the right, and it mimicked his movement. So this is a CE2, it's a CE3. Now, this went on for about a half an hour. Also, there was about a 45-degree angle, very bright white bluish light that shot off this thing at about a 45-degree angle. And what's the key to this thing is, not only did he see it, but there were 25 other eyewitnesses that saw this as well. Now let's fast forward to 1974. Paul Hynek is the son of Jalen Hynek. They're in Evanston, and they invite Father Gill over for dinner. The actual guy who saw this thing, he describes the entire case. And when I spoke to Paul, who was sitting next to Father Gill at the dinner table back in 1974, he described this case to me, and he said, you know what, Mike? Father Gill was a classy gentleman. He wasn't seeking fame or fortune. He just laid out the case. When I heard that from Paul, I said, yep, boom, we got a real case.
Yep, 100%. I remember Paul talking about that too. I was like, you've had the coolest life. It's so cool. Let's see. Chris, if you don't have any questions, can we try to...
Yeah, go for it.
Right. Let's go to 1970, the Finland case.
Finland case. Okay, this is a good case. I've got the report here. Not only the report, but I got the original sketch that goes with it. This is January 7th, 1970. This is in southern Finland. 2 skiers are going down this ski hill, and they notice this cloud following them. I mean, this is strange. A cloud's following. They go down to this cleared area. This cloud stops in this clearing area, and there's this pinkish, bright flash of light. And what happened next is just absolutely bizarre. We're talking about a 15-foot diameter dish-shaped craft appears out of this cloud after this bright flash. It kind of has these inverted dome sections on the bottom and then a larger dome on top. And then, and I'm not making this up, this is in the report, what could only be described, ladies and gentlemen, as a garden gnome. Yes, a garden gnome shows up. He's about 3 feet tall.
Looks like a
He's
cone
wearing
head.
a green, tight-fitting flight suit with green boots. He has a cone-shaped head. He has a wrinkled face with a crooked nose. This is all in the report. And then the report says that whoever or whatever this being was, he had a camera-looking device on his chest. And he was moving the camera device from one skier to the next like he was taking photographs. And then all of a sudden, this flash of light came back again, this same pink flash of light. The being was gone, the dish-shaped craft was gone, but the physical effects that were forced onto one of the skiers where his other friend had to help him get back to the lodge about a half mile away. He started throwing up. He was sick. So it absolutely had physical effects. So it's a CE1, it's a CE2, and it's a CE3.
And it's where SNL got the idea for the Coneheads sketch.
The Coneheads.
Back in the day. All right, let's see. I wonder if we can, in about a minute and a half, squeeze in one more. There's either the Gordon Cooper case or Mobile, Alabama.
We can take any one you want. That's fine with me.
All right, well, let's do Mobile in 83.
Mobile, okay, that's a good case. Okay, so we're talking 1983. Primary eyewitnesses driving down the road after a dinner engagement. It's about 9 p.m. at night. There's this big booming noise. This is in the report. This is an APRO report, not my report, but APRO report from the bulletin. And so she pulls off to the side of the road. She gets out of the car. She looks under the vehicle. She thought there was a problem with the transmission, like the whole transmission might have fallen out. That seemed to be okay. She gets back into the car. She slams the door shut. She drives another half mile down the road. Off to the right, there's this clearing area with trees flanking the back section of it. And hovering about 20 feet off the ground is this 210-foot long craft that's about 76 to 80 feet tall. It looks like a sphere with this tapering wedding cape as it tapers back to the aft end of the craft. We'll start at the top here. She said that there was a transparent section that wrapped around the forward one-third of the craft, and behind these transparent windows, she could see these, what she described, 5'10" humanoid-looking beings that had kind of no hair. They had a larger head. They were wearing this one-piece, tight-fitting white flight suit. Now, below that section was another transparent section that wrapped around the forward section of the craft. Now, I should mention that there were porthole windows just all around this craft, and she said she could look through one side of the porthole window all the way through the craft, all the way outside through the other porthole on the other side.
Oh my gosh.
She described the interior of the craft. She said it had this cross beam and girder construction, not only like a truss bridge, but something that you would see on an East Coast shipping yard where these bulkheads and stringers, a very mechanical man-made interior. Also, she said,
it looks like a nightclub, and we're oh my gosh, we're out of time.
Party crew. We're out of time.
And you have more to tell us, and I want you to keep going, but we're down to our last 10 seconds, so I'm gonna have to make this so fast. Michael, you rock. We got to have you back. That's
okay,
all I
no
can
problem.
say. Thank you so much. And thanks, of course, to Chris and our producer, Bill Skywatcher, our co-producer, Amanda Curran. We couldn't do it without you. Guys, keep looking up. Keep being nice to each other. Michael, we're going to have you back to finish that story.
Sure, no problem.
Bye.